We continue on today with our NHL GM Report Card Series. We are almost done and we are going through the final few teams in the Central Division. Today we take a look at the upstart Colorado Avalanche. Can they get back to being a Stanley Cup contender? We'll discuss the moves they made and grade the work of GM Chris MacFarland coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have another GM Report Card Series today. We're looking at the Colorado Avalanche and the work of Joe Sakic and Chris MacFarland. Obviously, this team is not far removed from being a Stanley Cup champion, and they find themselves in a little bit of an awkward position with their salary cap situation. They have two players that are taking up a lot of cap room that they hope will be able to play and have big question marks hovering over them right now, which kind of handcuffs them from doing a whole lot. So we're going to take a look at today at the trades, signings, how the team has changed throughout the offseason and grade the work of MacFarland and Sakic. But like I said, the future and the ability to play or not for Gabriel Landeskog and Val Nichushkin are having a monumental impact on this team's ability to really prepare for the season. Now, they do anticipate that Val Nichushkin will be able to return and play, but even with him, I mean, he's in of an advanced stage of the player assistance program. He's just under suspension for 6 months, which takes him till November. If he's done everything he needs to do and it gets reviewed by the league and the doctors and everybody involved in the program and gets clearance to return, that's great. I know the Avalanche are sounding like they're willing to accept him back with open arms. They're not going to be able to terminate his contract. So honestly, it sounds like a scenario where they need to kind of try to make the best of it. Comments from Nichushkin and different media outlets over in Russia during the offseason have indicated that he would prefer to stay there and would try to block any trade with his trade protection in his contract. Anyhow, so with all that being said, they will hope to have Nichushkin back sometime in November, and that he can resume being a big part of the team. Captain Gabriel Landeskog has not played since they won the Stanley Cup. He obviously had a serious knee issue that year, and has been battling it ever since. He's had multiple surgeries. The surgery that he most recently had is kind of like a last-ditch effort, but he's gone through an extensive, long rehab. And the hope is that he's going to be able to play this year. But again, we don't know. And at this point, the last time we heard anything, the reports were positive on Landeskog, that things were improving. He was making good progress. But it's very early and very premature to say that he's going to be there at the start of the year. I honestly don't think he will be. It sounds like he's probably not going to be a regular participant in training camp. He may be around. He may do a little bit. I don't know that he's going to be able to participate to the level of even getting in a preseason game. I don't think that's going to happen. So, again, they're optimistic and hopeful that, before they get too far into the year, that he'll be able to come back. So, with all that said, they have all this cap space between those two guys, making, a decent amount of money between the two that they have to leave open so they can activate them should they be ready to go. So that kind of makes it difficult to replace them. At the start of the year, if both are not there, which is the expected outcome right now, then that's going to prove to be challenging. But if they can overcome their adversity early in the year and come out with a half-decent record, and they do get those guys back later in the year, that's going to be like, trade deadline bonuses right there. So, it's complicated. So they didn't do a lot this offseason. Looking at they only had one trade, and it was a minor deal to improve their goaltending depth at the minor league level, trade with the Ottawa Senators, and it feels like they got a lot of former Senators this offseason. They acquired prospect goaltender Kevin Mandolese in exchange for a 2026 seventh rounder. So, again, Mandolese was in Ottawa. Of course, the Sens have made some changes with their goaltending. They now have Linus Ullmark at the NHL level. They have Anton Forsberg. They have Mads Søgaard, who's right now they're hoping will be the goalie of the future, at the very least a full-time backup to Ullmark if he extends. Then they have Levi Meriläinen. Meriläinen looks like he has a lot of potential too. And then after that, it was kind of getting a little bit crowded. So Mandolese became expendable because of the fact of his age and whatnot. So he goes to Colorado. They don't have quite as much depth, and he'll have more of a chance to play at the AHL level. And he has played a little bit in the NHL. So, should they need to call upon him, he's not completely brand new to that and could handle it for a short spell. So that was the only trade they made. Signing-wise, they did lots, but nothing substantial. So the most substantial signing was an internal situation where they extended Casey Mittelstadt. He's proven to be a really good fit since that trade with Buffalo where they swapped Byram for Mittelstadt. Mason Mittelstadt gets a 3-year extension of $5.75. I think that's a pretty fair deal for what Casey Mittelstadt brings to play in that second line. So again, that was probably their most substantial move. They extended Jacob McDonald, 2 years league minimum. Kiviranta, 1 year league minimum. They brought in Calvin DeHaan as an outside, veteran defenseman, 1 year, $800,000. He'll probably be like a 6-7 guy for them. Parker Kelly comes over from Ottawa. He was not qualified as an RFA. He was due, I think, about $300,000 or $400,000 more than what he ended up getting paid in Colorado. But it's a 2-year deal at $825. He's a hardworking guy. He's not super big, but he'll play big. He's not afraid to throw his weight around. Should be a good fit there. They were able to keep Jonathan Jerard. He signed another sweetheart deal, 1 year at $2.5 million. He definitely could have taken more money than that for sure, but he really wanted to stay. So that's what he ended up doing. They kept Kelly Rosen again, a veteran defenseman who's likely going to be good depth for the Miners, 1 year at league minimum. They signed Erik Brandstrom, another former Senator, 1 year, $900,000, another RFA who was making over $2 million. The Sens did not want to qualify that and be stuck with that contract, so they did not do that. He goes to Colorado's a UFA, 1 year, $900K. So he may have to play his offside there, but he had expressed numerous times in Ottawa that he was quite comfortable playing on the right side, even though he's a left shot D. And for him to get much ice time in the Avalanche organization, I think he might have to do that. So we'll see how that works out. Callum Ritchie gets his ELC. They then gave Mandolese a 1 year deal, league minimum, 2-way contract. They were able to sign a couple of late UFAs and Oliver Shillington and Matthew Phillips. Shillington gets just over $1 million, $1.05 million on a 1 year, and Phillips gets a 1 year 2-way league minimum. So again, nothing too crazy, but they've taken some chances on some young players to be their depth. So you're probably looking at right now a top line of McKinnon, Rantanen, Durant. That should be a really good line. Second line, you're probably looking at Mittelstadt, Lehkonen, and they're hoping maybe Kovalenko. That's the hope. We'll see. Third line, Colton, Wood, and O'Connor, perhaps. Fourth line's a little concerning, Kelly, Wagner, and Kiviranta. So the third line is going to be, all returnees. The top line's pretty well all returnees. Second line, you're looking at, a 2/3 Kovalenko trying to get his feet wet here. The fourth line, a little bit different, but all in all, and for the most part on the back end, nothing too crazy for changes. So looking at the subtractions and additions here for people going in and out of this lineup, coming in, like I said, you've got the former Senators and Parker Kelly, Erik Brandstrom, Kevin Mandolese. Then you get Calvin DeHaan, Oliver Shillington, and Matthew Phillips coming in as UFAs. Going out, Andrew Cogliano and Zach Parise, both retired. They're not coming back. Jack Johnson wasn't re-signed. And all of their deadline deals, none of them returned. So Tomas Tatar, Sean Walker, Brandon Duhaime, Jakub Trenin, none of them were brought back. They were all able to get more money elsewhere. Caleb Jones also not brought back. So, all in all, for me, the top guys are still there. Nothing too crazy. Looking at, Makar and Taves in the back end. You still got Josh Manson back there. Obviously there's a lot of familiarity with the blue line. Gerard's another one. Obviously you got some guys there like Brandstrom and Shillington, DeHaan are all going to be kind of battling for those last couple of spots. Really it's the depth. And those players for the Avalanche, they don't play a ton of minutes. So, the goaltending is the same. They could have had an opportunity to upgrade. I thought they would have tried to do that. I'm still not 100% sold on Georgiev, but, we'll see. Like I said, the big question marks over Landeskog and Big Val. Again, I don't know. Is the blue line any better? They lose Walker, Johnson, Jones. They bring in Brandstrom, Shillington, DeHaan. Walker was probably the best out of all those guys. So maybe weakened slightly, but your top guys are all still there, and they're all still going to play big minutes. So I think it's not necessarily something that's going to be super noticeable. The big thing for me, the forward group, the fourth line, is going to be a fair bit different. I don't know that the depth is there. Wagner, Kelly, I don't know. Matthew Phillips, will he get a chance, or is he going to have to play in the minors? Hard to say. So you know what? Really, for the most part, I think they might have an okay start. But the more points they can put in the bank early will be good, because clearly this team could get better by getting players back later into the year, as hopefully Nichushkin and Landeskog do return. But until they get confirmation that they're ready to come back or confirmation that they're not coming back, they can't use that money. So, I do expect the Avalanche to, like I said, get better as the year goes, either by getting those guys back or gaining the cap space because they're not coming back to go make other moves. But all in all, I'm going to give Chris MacFarland and Joe Sakic a B-. I think their hands were tied. I think they did the best they could with what they had. The only thing I would have tried to have done, and maybe they did and just weren't pay the price or weren't successful, is I would have tried maybe to strengthen the goaltending a little bit more, but that's not as easy as it sounds. It sounds like they were involved in some trade talk around that, but nothing materialized. So all in all, I don't mind what they did on the back end. The forward group was tricky with the fourth line, but again, like I said, they're kind of tapped out, and I expect that'll be something that they handle at the deadline. So they're definitely good enough to get to the playoffs, and they can kind of deal with things further into the year. But I think considering the lack of space because of the guys they're missing that they have to account for, I think they did a good job considering. So let me know what you think on the work of the Avalanche and Sakic and MacFarland here this offseason, and we'll talk about it further in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.